Welcome to the Vibe of Muscle Shoals Sound. I'm Terrell Benton. The Vibe is brought to you by Florence Lauderdale Tourism. Come see what the Shoals has to offer. We all know the elephant in the room that has affected all of us for the past year. Many of you, like us at the studio, were at home, and music was the light at the end of the tunnel. I bet most of you made a playlist, and I guarantee it included music that was recorded here at Muscle Shoals Sound. This version of the Vibe, we've decided to highlight some of the songs and tell the backstory of these hits. Let's kick it off with the Rolling Stones. The listeners of this podcast can listen to a previous episode and get more details, but this time we're going to tell the story of Wild Horses. Recorded on the last night of the 3 nights that the Stones were here, December 4th, 1969. The song was written by Keith Richards and was meant to be about him missing his son, Marlon. Keith had not wanted to go on the road and leave his son behind. Keith, in his autobiography, said it was a magical moment when things came together. Mick Jagger, however, turned the lullaby into a story about a romance in decline, his romance with Mary Ann Faithfull. Jagger, of course, says it was not about Mary Ann. He does, however, admit that the changes that he put him inside the song, and it was very emotional for him. Childhood living is easy to do. The things you wanted, I brought them for you, are the opening lines. And as the song descends into pain with, I watched you suffer a dull, aching pain, now you've decided to show me the same. Lyrically different from the verses that Keith had written in the live bathroom here at Muscle Shoals Sound. The plaintive piano that accents Wild Horses was played by Memphis, and I don't use this description often, genius, Jim Dickinson. Jim was invited to Muscle Shoals Sound for the Secret Stones sessions, along with Marshall Chess, whose father, Leonard Chess, gave the world chess records. Dickinson said in his autobiography, the thing I learned from the Stones was spontaneity, capturing the moment. The first time they got a song completed without a mistake, Charlie Watts stood up from the drums, and that was it. Back to Jim and the piano. They had brought in an old tack piano that was severely out of tune, and Ian Stewart of the Stones, refused to play minor keys. When minor keys were involved, Stu would lift his hands in protest. Dickinson saw this as his way to be on a Stones record. Jim said that the band struggled along for about 45 minutes. Jagger was in the control room with Swamper Jimmy Johnson. After one take, Jim heard the talkback come on, and Jagger's voice says, Keith, what do you think of the piano? It's a bit out of tune. And Keith replied, it's the only thing I like on the song. Wild Horses wrapped up the 3 days of the Stones at Muscle Shoals Sound. Next, they were off for what was the 3 worst days they had as a band. Altamont in the Bay Area. Next on our playlist is the most played song in rock radio history. Just take those old records off the shelf. I'll sit and listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old-time rock and roll. The opening chorus to Old Time Rock and Roll, co-written by Muscle Shoals Sound staff songwriter George Jackson and Thomas E. Jones III. The Swampers had cut a demo of the song, and after bringing in a local singer to sing on the demo, they sent it to Seeger. And the stories come one after the other on this song. Story 1, the demo being recorded at Muscle Shoals Sound. During a break, Jimmy Johnson of the Swampers was on the side porch of the studio, and a car pulled up, and a teenager got out and asked Jimmy, how do you get to play on a record? Jimmy said that he wanted to embarrass the kid and ask him if he had a guitar, and for him to grab it and come on in the studio. The teenager was named Howie McDonald, and Howie became the lead guitar player on Old Time Rock and Roll. Seeger came to Muscle Shoals Sound and added vocals to the song, and the rest is history, so they say. By the way, Swamper Barry Beckett was not the keyboard player. Randy McCormick, a local musician from Rogersville, Alabama, a steady contributor to all the Shoals studios, as well as a writer of several top 5 country songs, was the keyboard player that day. The song was the 4th single off of the Stranger in Town album and initially reached number 28 on the Billboard charts. On a call from Paul Simon to Stax Records co-owner Al Bell, Paul said, I want those same black guys that played on I'll Take You There. And Bell replied, that could happen, but these guys are kind of pale. So was the introduction of Paul Simon to the Swampers. The relationship began quickly when Simon arrived at Muscle Shoals Sound in 1972 to record his third solo album, There Goes Rhymin' Simon. The Swampers backed Simon on 5 songs on the record and wound up being nominated for a Grammy in the Album of the Year category. One of the unique aspects of the Paul Simon and the Swampers relationship was that Paul actually let the Swampers pick the songs that they wanted to play on. Simon had booked the studio for 3 days, and he only had one song, which according to Simon, they got it in one take in about half an hour. The Swampers said, you're going to have to pay for 3 days. And at that time, the studio figured they might as well get Simon to use them. Simon sat on the floor and played songs, and of course, he left with his biggest selling solo record to date. The lead single was Kodachrome, and the very unusual percussion that Roger Hawkins of the Swampers used, as Roger calls it, it has a loping feel. Roger got an old 2-inch tape cardboard box and put newspaper in it, and he initially played it with a vibe mallet. And as Roger says, it wasn't quite cutting it. So he kept changing the packaging in the box until it came through. What you've heard is Roger playing cardboard boxes with his hands. We here at the studio hope that these little insights into these songs make you go back and listen a little closer and add them to the Soundtrack of Your Life playlist. With that in mind, we've all been through trying times the past year, and so has Muscle Shoals Sound Studios. We're putting together an old-school telethon to help the studio financially. The SWAMP-A-THON, as we're calling it, will be on Saturday, May 8th from 1 until 7, complete with an old-school phone bank. We'll be streaming on Facebook Live, Instagram, and YouTube. There will be live performances from artists, visual performances, and recorded videos. We'll also have an online silent auction where everything from instruments and equipment and other items will be up for bid from world-class musicians who love the studio as much as we do. Follow our social media as well as other social media accounts that will be partnering with us for more details on this event. Muscle Shoals Sound is a nonprofit 501c3, and your donations will be tax deductible. April 1st will be the 52nd anniversary of the Swampers signing the lease on 3614 Jackson Highway. We often tell tours here at the studio to think about how much courage Jimmy Johnson, David Hood, Roger Hawkins, and Barry Beckett had to open the studio in April of '69. The music recorded in this little building in Sheffield, Alabama, permeates all of our lives. When you hear a song, you know exactly where you were the first time you heard it. That's the power of music. From Cher to Bob Seger, Leonard Skinner, the Rolling Stones, Boz Scaggs, the Staple Singers, Bobby Womack, Paul Simon, Willie Nelson, Dr. Hook, Millie Jackson, Leon Russell, and Steve Winwood in Traffic. That's just a small list of what this studio has given the world. The SWAMP-A-THON, May 8th, from 1 until 7. Follow us on our social media for more details. And check out our new YouTube channel and the Vibe of Muscle Shoals Sound podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast. The Vibe of Muscle Shoals Sound is brought to you by Florence Lauderdale Tourism. Thank you for your support in advance. I'm Terrell Benton, and this is the Vibe of Muscle Shoals Sound.